Sometimes the most powerful political moments aren't shouted from podiums or buried in press releases. They come quietly in a single calm sentence that lands like a thunderclap. This week at a PAC forum, Prime Minister Mark Carney was asked a simple question about foreign investment in Canada. He smiled, paused for a moment, and said, "We like that we have rule of law." The audience laughed, but across the border, that laugh must have echoed like an earthquake, because make no mistake, Carney wasn't just talking about investment. He was talking about America, about Donald Trump, and about the difference between a nation led by law and one ruled by chaos. This wasn't a soundbite. It was a statement. The most powerful and politically loaded sentence of Carney's premiership so far. Carney's words came during a discussion on Canada's investment climate, a topic that usually puts rooms to sleep, but not this time. He started with the numbers, stable returns, clear regulations, low taxes. Then, as if offhandedly, he added, "We like that we have rule of law." The audience chuckled. But it wasn't comedy. It was recognition. They all knew exactly what he meant, because just days earlier, Trump's America had made headlines again. Not for growth, not for innovation, but for legal chaos, political interference, and another round of courtroom spectacle. Carney's timing couldn't have been more deliberate. He drew the contrast perfectly. Canada stable and structured, America chaotic and unpredictable. And he did it without saying Trump's name once. That's diplomacy at its sharpest and politics at its most effective. This is what makes Mark Carney so different from Trump and from almost every other leader on the global stage right now. He doesn't lash out. He doesn't insult. He simply tells the truth and lets the world fill in the blanks. His comment wasn't aggressive. It was surgical. He positioned Canada as the grown-up in North America, the country where rules are predictable, contracts are honored, and the law applies to everyone, not just the powerful. And for investors watching that moment live, the message couldn't have been clearer. If you want stability, invest in Canada. In one line, Carney did what decades of branding campaigns could never achieve. He made rule of law sound like a competitive advantage, and in today's world it is. But let's go a layer deeper because Carney wasn't just defining Canada's strength. He was exposing America's weakness. Under Trump, the U.S. has turned into a country where laws bend for allies and break for enemies, where judges are attacked, where justice is politicized, and where even investors can't trust tomorrow's policy to look like today's, and the world sees it. Foreign investors are nervous. Global institutions are cautious, and major economies like Canada are quietly stepping up to fill the vacuum. So when Carney said, "We like that we have rule of law," what he was really saying was, "We like that we're not you." It was a polite, devastating comparison. Canada as a beacon of order beside a neighbor unraveling in disorder. What makes this moment so powerful isn't just the words, but how they were said. Carney didn't look angry. He didn't even look amused. He looked certain, confident in Canada's institutions, in his government, and in his country's direction. That calm confidence is his signature. It's why his leadership feels different. While others chase headlines, Carney shapes them. While Trump tries to dominate every conversation, Carney controls it with restraint. This was the quiet diplomacy of a man who doesn't need to prove power because he already has it. And that's what made the line saint even more in Washington. Trump thrives on confrontation. Carney just demonstrated that the most effective confrontation is competence. Within hours, that moment had spread online. Clips circulated on social media with captions like, "Carney mocks Trump with surgical precision, and Canada's PM wins the room with one sentence." International media picked it up. Analysts called it a subtle rebuke, perfectly delivered. But beneath the headlines lies something deeper, a shift in perception. Carney's Canada is no longer seen as the quiet middle power next to a loud superpower. It's now being viewed as the voice of reason, the stable alternative, the model of modern governance. And as global investors look for safe ground amid Trump's chaos, Carney just told them where to find it. Right here. But this wasn't just aimed abroad. Canadians heard it too. At home, this was Carney drawing a line in the sand between leadership and loudness, between substance and spectacle. While Pierre-Paul continues to echo Trump's populist tone, Carney is making a different argument that strength comes from stability, not shouting. When he says, "We like that we have rule of law," he's not only telling investors what makes Canada safe, he's telling Canadians what makes it worth believing in. This is how he leads. By quietly redefining what leadership means at a time when the loudest voices are often the weakest. Zoom out. And this isn't just about one comment. It's about a country stepping into its global moment. For decades, Canada was content to play the junior partner, to follow rather than lead. But under Mark Carney, that posture is shifting. He's not waiting for approval from Washington or validation from Brussels. He's building a Canada that leads by example, stable, lawful, and quietly influential. And the world is noticing because in a global climate defined by unpredictability, Canada's calm is becoming its greatest export. This wasn't a fiery speech. It wasn't a press release designed to trend. It was just one sentence, but it carried more weight than anything Trump has said in years. We like that we have rule of law. That's not just a comment about governance. It's a declaration of values of how Canada sees itself and how it wants the world to see it. Carney didn't need to humiliate Trump. Trump did that himself. All Carney had to do was hold up a mirror and let reality speak for itself. Because that's what real leadership looks like. Calm, confident, and rooted in truth. And that's exactly what the world saw. A prime minister reminding everyone that while others play politics, Canada plays by the rules. Before we wrap up, a quick moment to say thank you. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications because we're just getting started. The stories shaping Canada are only getting bigger, and we'll be right here to cover every one of them. Thank you for watching, and thank you for believing in what we're building together.